Hey, Mary, hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Mary, you still there? Mary.
I am still
Okay.
here.
CH, you still there?
Still here.
Okay. This may be awkward because the phone probably doesn't pick up as well as it does us just sitting face to face. I'm gonna have Keith call the meeting to order, and we've got everybody else here. I've asked Will and Penny to sit in so they can help answering questions from an operation standpoint or a front counter standpoint. So, and we've limited the number to 9, so we're abiding by federal rules, so we're not overtaxing anybody. So at this point in time, Chairman, I ask you to call the meeting to order.
All right, we'll come to order and I'll turn it over to the manager.
Okay. I want to say a couple quick things before we get started. Again, Will and Penny are here. We're going to talk about how this COVID-19 has affected our operation, changes we make. Just in case Kathy and I can't answer questions, they're here. Kathy, Will, Penny, myself, and me and Terry by ourselves a couple times have met many times last week and then again today to get our hands around this, trying to figure out what, and we're like every other utility. I've had 80 emails today, so have y'all, from other utilities about what are you doing, what should we do, and so forth. It's still an evolving, dynamic situation. When we get into the meat of the discussion, what I would like to do, because it is awkward having the phone here, let me make some comments about that 5-page document I sent to you. I have revised my comments a little bit based on conversations I had with staff this morning. You don't see it, I'll have it on the board for the 3 here to see. Let me make some quick comments, and I'm going to ask Keith after that to call upon each one of you individually for comments. That way just one person is talking. Also, make sure you have pen and paper handy to make notes, because you'll think of something by the time Keith gets around and asks you to comment on it, you may have forgot it. So make good notes. Apart from that, I'm going to let David, he wants to make a few announcements and get some rules straight on how we do this, since it's a new thing with the telephone, now legal by the declaration the governor made. So David, would you comment?
Yeah, I've reviewed the governor's declaration and some advice from the comptroller of the Treasury and order how to conduct this meeting, since part of it's by electronic communication. I think the first thing we need to do is have the secretary call the roll. Everyone needs to respond that they are here, and whether they're here via the conference call or actually in the room.
Okay. Kathy, if you call the roll, just go around the table. Don't ask them to vote. Just remember, Mary sits there and she sits there.
Okay, and including us too.
No, just the members.
Okay, Christy Hayden,
Present.
Jim Badura,
Present.
Keith McCullough,
Here,
Mary.
Mary Jones,
I'm here via conference call.
and C.H. Sullivan.
I'm here via conference call.
Okay.
And you need to be sure and count that in the minutes in that manner. We need to consider a motion to meet electronically, and we just need a motion that says the regular scheduled meeting of the Covington Electric Board shall be conducted electronically as such as necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the members of the board, the employees of the Covington Electric System, and the general public in light of the COVID-19 state of emergency. So we just need
So
the
moved.
motion.
motion by Christie, second by CH. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
You need to call the roll to vote. And then we're gonna get to that in a minute. We're gonna call the roll to vote every time, because you can't do that. I think electronically you need to.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Mary? Mary, you gonna vote aye to approve
Mary,
this?
aye.
Okay.
I
CH?
agree.
CH? Okay. This is gonna be cumbersome, but we gotta do this.
And just a motion that we take all votes by roll call.
Aye.
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 Mary, say aye.
Mary, aye.
CH?
Aye.
And you made the motion, you seconded.
In order for these in order for these meetings to be carried out under the guidelines, we need to just let the public know the availability of the minutes and the audio recording, that we're required to keep that under the new guidelines. So, Tim, if you'll just tell for the notice, and then I think we'll need to put that on the front door of how those are available.
Okay. What we'll have to do, we have the audio tape, we don't have video. The comptroller's regulation said video and or audio. We've never tried to put the video recording on our website. That's where we'll need to go to. Terry will have to develop some mechanism so we can go to the website and reach out to a separate file to get this, a secure file. So we'll figure that out. Hopefully within 2 days.
Within 2 days, but they will be available by contacting the.
Yeah. We'll put it on the front door, so, you know, we're hosting these by video conference, not video conference, audio. If they like it, you know, go to this place on the website, and we'll put that on the website too. So they can go see this, and be careful what you say. So, that'll cover that part of it. It may take us a couple of days to get that so that people can get to it, so. What else, Dave?
That's all that I think we need to have electronic meeting. That's all we
Okay.
need to do.
So we've got that covered, so now we've officially made the declaration, we're gonna do this electronically, and met all the rules and regulations. Anything else?
That's all I have.
All right,
All right, let's get a motion to approve the minutes. That motion by Jim, second by Christie.
roll call, starting with Christie.
Present?
Aye.
Yeah, okay.
Jim? Keith? Mary?
Aye.
CH?
Aye.
Okay,
All right, the minutes are approved. I'm gonna turn the meeting back over to Tim
okay.
and let him commence.
The only thing we had on action items other than this discussion we're gonna have is the financials. I included the statements that I normally do. Everything's strong and good for. If no one has any questions about financials, I'd ask for a motion to approve the February financials. If you have a question, answer it, but if not, let's go ahead and approve it.
I've got a motion by Jim, second again by Christie. Roll call.
Aye.
Christie, aye. Jim, aye. Aye. Keith is aye. Mary,
Aye.
CH.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. The next item on the action items is discussion on preparation for COVID-19 virus. And Sunday, I think it was Sunday, I sent this information to you. And I also made a statement that subject to change because all this is changing quickly. After I met with Kathy and Will and Penny today, we did tweak some of our comments some to make it better for everyone. I'm not going to read this thing verbatim. I'm going to touch on the highlights, and then when I finish making a comment, I'll ask Keith to call for whoever to make comments, questions, remarks. The main thing out of all this that our number one primary objective is to keep our 18 employees healthy. Because if they're not here, nothing gets done, particularly if the lights go out. And so we want to take whatever precautions we can to protect them and encourage them to protect themselves. Because they're only here 10 hours a day. When they leave here, you know, I've already talked to them about, you know, don't go to the movies and that kind of place. So some of this responsibility falls on them, but the whole impetus of this, first and foremost, is to protect employees. Second is to find a way to continue to serve our customers as ably as we can without as many disruptions as possible. And so I made these comments here. One thing I want the board to consider is that no matter what we decide to do tonight, next week, next month, as we're making these changes, it's still pretty fluid. We will make mistakes. We're not going to make any billing mistakes. I mean, that's all covered. But we may make the wrong choice tonight about something to do next week, and we have to undo that. You know, we don't know what's going to come up. So I want y'all to please understand that we're gonna do this as a team, staff and the board. We're gonna make the best attempt, but if we see it's not working like we thought it would, we'll come back and lick our calf and do it again. Because this is a very, very evolving situation. The first comment I want to talk about is limited employee exposure. I'll make a few comments. I've added some stuff that y'all don't, CH and Mary, y'all don't see. The board will see it up here on our overhead. But when I sat and met with key staff, we were talking about making sure our employees were protected as much as possible. And our first thought was to divide them up as we normally do on a Monday or Friday with what we call an A team or a B team. Not saying one's better than the other, but to identify. So we got the A team here Monday through Thursday, the B team here Tuesday through Friday. The way we've done it since after 9/11, I think, when we made this change. It works real good. So our first thought was, let's just separate them. And if you're on A team, you work 4 10s or 5 8s all week. The rest of you stay home. And then we'd reverse the next week. B team would come in and work 4 10s or 5 8s, and the A team would stay home. We thought that was a real good idea at the time by doing that. So again, we're trying to limit exposure to our employees from the public. But we also have to limit our exposure from employees to employees. And that's kind of hard to do. We were trying to do that by separating them in 2 groups. But what we talked about this morning for some time and finally decided is that probably the best option is to keep going as we are. Have staff Monday and Friday, keep the office open 7:30 till 5:30. And then, we'll work as we always have done. And the reason we changed our mind this morning and want to take this position is, if we had an employee that has to take off because they got to take care of the children, and I've got a couple that qualify to take off for the children. Well, they may say, well, I just need to be off Wednesday, so can I come in Monday and Friday and work and just take off Wednesday? Sure. But all of a sudden, this B team member is mixed in with our A team member. So that does away with isolation. So I think our recommendation is to keep our structure as it is now, working as we've done for the last 15 years. Keep our lobby open as is always, not lobby open, keep our operating hours. Employees show up at 7, we open the drive-through at 7:30, and then close it at 5:30. So we think now is the best way of doing that. The reason I say all that is, beforehand, when I sent out to you, said, let's do one or the other. Now my position is, let's don't change anything. Does the board have any comments about that, Keith?
I like the idea of just not changing anything.
Okay.
For the public,
Yeah.
that's an important thing too,
Yes.
so people don't come up here and we change something. Does
I agree.
anyone else have any
I agree,
comments?
I like that.
Well, I was just talking to Justin Bradford at Bradford's Pharmacy,
Mm-hmm.
and y'all have heard about the pharmacy in Mumford. So they shut that guy down, bam, who knows what he'll do. So Justin's thing is, I'm gonna work half my staff 1 week. And he's backed up like you're gonna say you are. You go by his place, they're backed up 15-fold. He won't cuss him when they come through, and he says, I'm doing all I can do.
Yeah.
And then he said, I'm letting half my staff work 1 week. The next week, the other half staff comes in. He said, because if one gets contaminated or contagious, I don't have anybody to work. What do I do? Food for thought.
Well, it is, and before anybody else comments, let me speak to what Jim says. That's where we started out this conversation last week, doing exactly that. But then we got to thinking, well, are you really limiting employee to employee exposure? Because those that are off the week, they're still going to go to Walmart. They're still going to do what they go to the gas station. They have a greater chance of being contaminated in Walmart than they do here.
And bring it back here, sure.
And bring it back here. And that's the reason that
I agree.
we came back to the
There's
decision
no
to stay
right
where we
answer.
are.
It's what you do.
Right now, if someone does show up and appears to be sick, we will, if they don't volunteer to go, we're gonna send them home.
Oh, they'll go home.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a problem.
no, they do. Does that mean all of us have to pack up because we were sitting next to them this morning, yesterday? Not to, my understanding, unless y'all hear something different, just because you were exposed to somebody that could possibly be contaminated, you don't have to be quarantined right now.
No, but if they did test positive
Mm-hmm.
and you were in contact with them, I mean, we at
You have to be
Stern are
quarantined for
saying
14
you
days.
have to, you have to be quarantined.
You have to be
also.
quarantined, okay.
Absolutely.
And so that's the thing that I'm trying to get my head wrapped around.
Now, not if they were just around someone. If Kathy showed up tomorrow and she has it, then I could not go to work for 14 days because I was directly next to someone who has
Okay.
it's directly tested positive.
CH, you made a comment.
I just was saying exactly what you just said, that you have to quarantine if you've been in close contact with someone who's been diagnosed positive. I'm fine on leaving things how they are. What if we go to shelter in place though?
Elaborate on shelter in place.
We're essential.
And Shelby County just did it. You can't leave the house if that's pretty much an emergency. Essential businesses are open, everything else is, but that would limit their exposure outside of work, because they really couldn't go anywhere outside of work. But just a thought.
And it's a valid thought.
I find leaving things where they are.
Okay. If we did shelter in place, they still have to get out to go to the grocery store. I mean, I think shelter in place allows that.
What were you going to say, David?
Well, two things. One, for the last thing, I mean, we're gonna be in essential service no matter what,
Right.
so. But my question to you, Christie, was, if carry your example a little further, if you're sitting next to someone that hadn't tested positive,
Mm-hmm.
but you're sitting next to someone that has been in contact with someone that's tested positive, is it the same rule?
No,
Okay.
only if that person that you're directly in contact with is tested positive.
Okay. And so right
That's
now,
the way I understand it.
go ahead, CH.
I just said that's the way I understood it as well.
Okay. So the bottom line is if I test positive tomorrow, everybody in this room is gonna have to go home,
Self-quarantine.
self-quarantine.
Which I think goes back to our initial thought, if we're on split shifts and I test positive, at least we have the other shift to fall back on. Whereas if we're all sitting in the crew room together in the morning or throughout the day and I test positive, all our guys have to go home and they're quarantined.
Mm-hmm. And we can't operate that way. We can't operate everybody going home because right now all of our eggs are one basket feeding out of the Wicked substation. TV's doing work down here, so
We'll rectify that Thursday or Wednesday.
right, and get it split back up. But if we lose the hospital circuit, we gotta go. I don't care if you're quarantined or not. Now, David pointed out essential services. I don't know how that affects us because
Will that override a quarantine?
Yeah, and the answer is, all the orders that I've seen so far have said the utilities aren't subject to the orders of shelter in place because they're essential services. You're still to go to work.
right.
You're still allowed to go to work.
But what about quarantine?
Well, and you know, that hadn't become widespread enough that I've seen anything on that. I mean, you know, apparently they've had somebody test positive at the Justice Center, but
They cleared them today, and the two deputies that were taken off duty because of exposure have to both report to work now. As soon as that person cleared, they sent them back. They're going back tomorrow.
oh, did they clear it?
They did clear the patient, so now the two deputies that were exposed are having to return to work.
All right, so in light of what Will just said, and this is where we was at yesterday, do y'all want to split the team up in half, or do you want to keep business as usual? I mean, it's damn if we do, damn if we don't. I mean, What do you think?
Is there any way, like, the social distancing is what they're trying, that's why they came up with that.
Right?
Because people do have to work, and then that's why so is there a way that y'all can be a little bit separated? I mean, unless you're having to work on a job together?
Yes, I mean, we can make an attempt,
Uh-huh.
but I mean, there's only so much space.
Right.
And
Cause y'all
then-
don't have desks, y'all don't
Well, yeah.
have individual
Yeah.
space.
So the crew room, they all sit together in one area.
And what they've tried to do in the last week or two is they're cooking here every day and trying to stay here and eat.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying their best not to go out. We're not leaving unless we have an outage situation, whether that's
Which is
street lights,
good,
security
yeah.
lights, or the true lights out situation. But they're doing other things to stay in-house as much as they can.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
With the upfront, we have been, like today it was 4 of us and we took payments all day at the window at that one computer station.
Yeah.
So we all were, I mean, we were washing our hands with sanitizer and stuff,
Yeah.
but that's.
Do you wear gloves when you touch the money?
We do have gloves. Gloves are available,
They
but
don't need to
none
wear
of
gloves.
us has worn them
You need
yet.
to wear them touching the
Well,
money.
you know, think about touching the money. Money's the dirtiest thing out there, but you touch it, and then you forget with the gloves on, you touch your face.
You just got.
You gotta remember not to do that.
I mean, that's just part of it.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I mean, but you really do need to wear gloves touching the money.
We've got gloves up there, and we don't have any face masks, I don't know if we do, but, and all this hand sanitizer and stuff.
The
so.
guys at Texas Gas or the break room, they're all trying to go outside and stay away from each other now, rather than being congested in an area.
Mhm.
Right, and if the rain would let up on us,
Exactly.
that would help a whole lot. I mean, it's, what a lot of other utilities are doing, Paris called earlier today.
Speak up, Wilson.
Paris Utilities is working one shift 7 to 11, the next shift 11 to 4. And when Tim first brought up 410, I brought up 3 and 2. Let's work one shift 3 days, one shift 2 days. Jody's got to put on an incident command
Mm-hmm.
thing, so I went home and I used her as a resource. And she said, no, Tim is exactly right. You need to do one shift Monday through Thursday. This thing only lives on hard services 3 days. Have Sheila come in, do a good cleaning on Thursday night, then you get 3 full days for whatever is left to hopefully die.
Right.
Then you bring in your new shift on Monday, they come into a clean environment, and you do that same thing the next week. And hopefully we avoid cross-contamination. I don't know, I'm like Tim, it's so fluid, who knows what the right answer is, but I do know if we get it in here,
Yeah.
it's gonna shut us down. We'll have to call contractors in to take care of us for 14 days.
Yeah.
Now, whether that's the better option, I don't know.
And someone will have to be here to oversee the contract.
As well, contractors are not gonna know where to go or what to do. I mean, we've gotta have somebody.
If we went to a split shift, you know, A one week, B the next week, and 2 of the ladies on B shift got sick, we've got to bring somebody in off A shift to fill in.
I'm willing to learn to take payments and do whatever I've gotta do.
Well, I understand
I'll
that,
live
but-
with it. My
Yeah.
wife's gone anyway.
So
Yeah.
I really don't know.
No, it's still.
I mean, if we can't make a decision tonight, sit around this table, I would ask the board to let 4 of us discuss it more tomorrow and figure out which way to go, and y'all would back us, whatever we decide. I still think business as usual. But the point you make, Christie, if one gets sick, one of the guys in the crew and get test positive, they all want to go home.
Unless you somehow keep them separated, I mean, they're not right together.
Yeah. Well, they're still closer than we do around here, because we've got a small table. And they've been doing that since day one. So they all may be infected right now, just nobody knows it.
And the potential still exists for something to happen. We could have a pole hit right now in every one of them in the same area. We make it limit day-to-day access, but the potential's still there that we're gonna be grouped up. It's just the nature of the job.
I still think that safer here with
I do too.
the small number of employees than there are at home. I just know how people until they're made to stay at home, they're not gonna stay at home. Now, I'm just saying in general.
Well, you're right, and we talked about that.
Saying
in the
business as usual looks like the best, shifts as usual looks like the best thing.
Potatoes. I don't have any people checked today. David, move on. So what I'm hearing, unless the board, anybody else have any comments over this before we move on to the next? Right now, I'm hearing the board saying that we need to continue business as usual.
Sounds good.
Does anybody object to that? CH, Mary?
Tim, I don't necessarily object with it, but I think you need some further discussion. Hopefully, there's not enough contact, because even when they say group less than 10, and I know you all may not agree with me, but I hope y'all are sitting in separate corners, because you shouldn't be within 3 feet of each other.
We got 3 foot spacing.
But, so, I don't know how close your staff is together, but there may be some conversations where the close contact doesn't have to be, especially those individuals in the field. And then those in the office, if you have the space, then when the shift changes and the cleaning takes place, maybe that will add some safety precautions. But, you know, I don't have any objections of how you planned it. I'm just saying, for example, in my office, some people are coming in, when they leave, everything is wiped down. When other people go in, they wipe down, and it's not that many of us.
Yeah, the ladies on the front desk are doing that already, several times a day. So,
That would be my only comment.
okay. We will reemphasize that tomorrow to the inside and outside crews both.
And like I told you earlier, just like in my office, people come in and look. They're going to sit in that chair and they're going to look for something. When somebody comes through the drive-thru, you need to have a Lysol can, a Purell thing looking there. Everybody through the drive-thru should have gloves on. And that way that person looking in here thinking, oh, there's something bad in there, they feel safe. They feel safe. I mean, that's the way you want to
Every time that drive-through window opens, it should be sprayed.
Try.
I don't know if we're doing it every time, but we can start. As long as we have something to spray it with.
But that's the person looking, you know, they're going to be scared, you know, what can you say?
And this is a big building. I mean, y'all can kind of spread out, can't you? Unless you really need it. I mean, can you spread out different places? Maybe.
We'll figure it out.
Well, the people that will in the door, I would think
Right.
you got more room
Uh-huh.
more than I do.
That's what we're doing. We're spreading out in my office.
Okay. All right, so we'll continue business as usual. And we'll talk more I'm gonna have an employee meeting first thing in the morning anyway, to talk about tonight and what we decided.
Okay.
Okay. Of course, if employees do become sick, we will be sending them home for 14 days. And I think we'll require them to have a clearance from the doctor that he or she's no longer contaminated. And so that's for sure. We'll talk in a minute about some new federal laws that tells about if they get paid to be at home or not. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Before we get to that, payment of bills, the city's already shut down their collections, reconnects or disconnects. Most utilities are doing that. TVA sent out an email last week that said they will allow us to forego disconnects for non-paid for a limited time. And so, at some point in time, I would ask the board to allow us to not cut off. We're supposed to have a cutoff Wednesday. We got 2 cycles, what we call the good cycle, better paying employees or customers, fewer numbers, and then the other cycle, 2 weeks. 2 weeks that have a lot on there. Out of concern for the citizens and their jobs, at some point in time tonight, I'm going to ask the board to consider allowing us to do that. I did drive through town today at lunch, and all the restaurants seem to be doing what they're told. And drive-throughs are open, but Ball Butcher and the rest of them closed down. The manufacturers, their parking lots are full. No one's lost a job out there, but the people in restaurants are not having work. Jim had to shut his office down somewhat, so people are starting to suffer from this. Now, if we don't cut people off because they don't pay the bill, we'll have people game the system that can pay it. But they say, well, if you're not going to make me, I'm not going to pay it. That's going to happen. If we,
Yeah, but we're not forgiving it.
that's right. That's right. We're not
We
forgiving.
let them get away with it. I mean, that's the same, what the city did is we're just suspending it for 30 days, but they're still gonna owe the money, and they're told on the front end they owe the money.
What,
And I don't know exactly how I feel on it, but I don't have a problem with it. Like you said, people will try to game the system, but we're not forgiving them anything. They're gonna have to pay it eventually.
That's correct. And the key is, I feel that, and I've, two co-ops I worked at first 20 years, we had late payment arrangements, and it was, you create a whole different class of customer who are going to always pay late and always game the system and take advantage of it. And we'll create that here for short term, that's fine. But when we do this, if we do this, and I think we should do this, I feel like we need a repayment schedule that each customer who don't pay the bill has to sign so they understand what the repayment agreement will be. And like CH said, it's not a free money. There comes a day of reckoning, and here's conditions. And how we do that, we can put it on the website, we can do whatever. But if people, and I think we're going to send letters, if y'all agree to this, Wednesday or Thursday after Sue pays and who doesn't. Those who don't pay, we'll send a letter to them saying, we've forgiven this. We've delayed this,
Right.
not forgiven, delayed it. But in the next 2 weeks, you need to come in and come to the office and sign a repayment agreement so you understand what the terms are. If we don't hear from you, we will come and cut your electricity off. We'll leave a door knock or something, and then that will force them to come to the office
But
to,
and I thought it was gonna be closed.
well, the drive-through. Everything's done in the drive-through. But if we have to go cut them off to get their attention, we'll cut them back on, but they're going to have to come in and sign something, I think. Otherwise, they'll say, well, saw on TV in New York City, they didn't make anybody pay.
How many people are you talking about?
Probably on A cycle 40 to 50, B cycle 75 to 100.
That many?
Yeah. It's the same people most of the time. Once it becomes known that we won't cut off, it'll double, I think.
And to what Tim's saying about them, us having documentation, if we don't, 25 of the 40 are gonna say, she told me on the phone I didn't have to pay this, that the government is paying it.
Yeah.
See, I was thinking of certified letters when you said.
Well, I would start with a regular letter to get them in, but before we cut somebody, do certified
So,
letters.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, regular letter first.
Yeah,
You don't hear from them in a week, certified letter.
right. It's because I really, go ahead, Mary.
You're saying sending certified letters, do we know what postal services guidelines are now?
They hadn't checked out any.
Sign that, and if they're only doing mail through, I'm just asking.
I don't know. We'll have to find that out, Mary. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure. But I do feel it's necessary we get them to sign something saying, yeah, I know there's a day coming. And then in the next month or two, this board, the staff try to put together some type of repayment agreement for the board to say yea or nay. I would suggest that we postpone cutoffs till the governor lifts the emergency for the state. It was 15 days or 3 months. Do it for that time. And then after that time, say it's the June bill comes, they got to pay the June bill. And they're going to pay 10% of the prior stuff, whatever we come up with. Give them 6 or 8 months to catch
Right,
up.
yeah, then we need to do it.
Yeah, we can't get it all back at once. So does the board agree with me that we can postpone disconnects until further notice? And at the same time, we will not charge late fees or reconnect fees?
You gonna
This
take
is
it
Mary, I
from-
agree.
Mary says yes.
I'll
So,
make that motion.
okay, wait, but Keith had a question.
I was just gonna say that we want a motion, I was gonna get a motion.
Yeah, the
Let's
motion.
get a motion to do that, and as Tim said, until the governor lifts the emergency,
Right.
and we'll go from there. All right, we're gonna call the roll. Christie,
Aye.
Jim, Keith, aye.
Okay.
Mary,
Mary,
Aye.
aye. And CH?
he made it.
Yeah, he made it, right, okay. All right, so we'll do that, effective Wednesday.
What day?
Yes, David has a
I
comment.
just had one question, normally you get a discount if you pay. How does that work with the discounts, if you pay, you know what I'm talking about?
It's not a discount.
Well,
It's
whatever.
semantics.
It's however you call it, they'll still be subject to whatever that is.
But we can forgive that.
I didn't know what y'all want to do about it.
Yeah, the late fee, if they can't pay, they're gonna be late. So we'll forgive that. There's a form, and it's like 5% first $100, and then a very little bit after that. They're normally $7 or $8 a month late fees. I mean, we're gonna lose revenue off this, but so be it.
That's right.
So be it.
Yes, yeah.
So, and then when we get around to when we lift the lane, go back to cutting off, then we'll start charging reconnects after that. We're not gonna reconnect anybody anyway, so.
Yeah.
So having said that, we've got that behind us. Again, we've closed down the front lobby to outside traffic. Everything's being done through the drive-through. Terry and Penny have worked up some forms to have some things handed to the front desk so that they can transact it at the drive-through instead of coming in. It's a little cumbersome, especially with new services, because it takes a little while to see their ID and make copies of it, such as that. So Terry revised our service order form so the customer can pick the thing up at the window or download it off the internet, bring it up here, hand it to us. They can go out in the parking lot, drive around the block and wait till we get it ready. And then we can call them and get back in line and we'll get it done. So that's one thing we're doing. It's gonna be slow and people will get irate. So be it. There's nothing we can do about that. So that takes the longest amount of time. And again, in the service order, since we're doing it, trying to speed up the process and not doing it as normal, we may make some mistakes and forget to get a social security number here or there or whatever. So be it.
Just call.
We'll go back and fix that later. Any questions about how we operate the drive-through or the new service applications? If not, let's move on to third page with federally mandated sick leave. This was written, I started putting this together last week. I went and planned on sending it to y'all because I knew it'd change. And so I was going to put it on the board tonight. It's even changed since I wrote this yesterday. The U.S. government passed the Families First Act on Wednesday the 18th. I don't think it goes into effect until April 2nd, 15 days. The Department of Labor has 15 days to come up with some guidelines. I think when it goes into effect. But what I wrote on the board there and the stuff that I mailed to you pretty much covers the way I understand it. I could be wrong, but there are two main thrusts to this. One is 80 hours of paid sick leave, and the other is it's either 10 or 12 weeks of paid FMLA, above and beyond what we're doing now. And I would urge all of you to get online and look up the Family First Act and see what it says, because every attorney I've spoken to has a different take on it, what it means. I do have information from Sean Lilly I got today. He's our HR attorney out of Memphis that works with all the West Tennessee managers. I got it late this afternoon. I've not had time to digest it. He gets sent it to me about 10 minutes after 4. And we also got something from Miller Martin today, and I'm going to go through theirs and make sure that I understand exactly what this thing says. But basically it says, if you're sick, stay home. We'll pay you 2 weeks above and beyond what you're getting right now. If you got to tend one of your children, you stay home, but you only get 2/3 of pay. Unless something else happens, you may get all your pay. So it's interwoven, all these rules are. And what I wrote down, I think is 95% right, but I wouldn't go to court on today. But what I'm going to ask of the board is, as we have to administer paid time off under the Families First Act, and that's the first time off they're going to get. We can't require them by the law to take existing sick leave or vacation time, or FMLA. We have to use this first. As we do this, if I make a mistake and I understand this and tell somebody they have to do one thing or don't get paid or whatever, find it's wrong, we're going to have to go back and reverse that. And it's very possible that we may say the wrong thing. Hopefully not. But understand that we may give them false instruction on which pay to take and how much pay they get. You understand what I'm saying? And if y'all can read through it and come up with an exact, easy to understand interpretation, I'd love to see it. Also, I'd ask the board that this leave that is effective April 2nd, and it goes away December 31st, unless the government extends it. And so I'd ask the board tonight to allow Kathy to set up a special COVID-19 leave file or whatever, so that we can go ahead and put the 2 weeks of sick leave in everybody's account, above and beyond what they got. And then if they need to take it, they take it out of that. And the end of December 31st, if it was not taken, it's gone.
Sam, this is Mary. I have a question.
Yes.
What if you have an employee, and I know you may not know the answer, but I've been trying to figure this one out. What if you have an employee that says, I have 3 weeks of annual leave right now. I just want to go home for these next 3 weeks. Do they go on that special leave?
No.
Or do they go on their regular leave?
If I have, well, for instance, Terry was off tomorrow, the next day. It's scheduled off spring break. And she will be taking her accrued paid leave, annual leave, for those 2 days.
Okay.
If someone, we have the right as an employer to tell someone they can take leave or not take leave. And if, I've got a guy that's wanting to go turkey hunting next week, I may tell him he can't go. He won't like it, but I have the right to tell him that if we get short-handed. So they would.
Okay, I understand that part, but I'm saying if somebody just walks up to you and says, I fear for my safety, or I just can't handle this, I need to be off. I have X amount of leave accrued. I want to take my leave. It's going to be left up to you as to whether you need them or not, and then you approve it, and it will be their regularly accrued leave.
Okay. First off, someone told me that, and I felt like we could spare them, I'd let them go.
But it would be on their leave.
On their leave, not
On their leave.
their leave,
That's what I'm
right.
saying, on their leave.
Because
Okay.
just the fear of getting the disease,
No.
the new federal laws don't cover that.
You have to have it.
I just wanted to get that clear.
Yeah.
Because,
Right. And if I send them home, if I allow them to go on 2 weeks vacation, I'm gonna tell them, if you leave town, come back, you're gonna be off another 2 weeks till you clear. We have the right to do that.
okay.
So they say, well, hell, I'm going to spring break. Well, when you get back, don't come here. Give me a doctor's excuse after 14 days of getting back. I don't think we'll have anybody to do that, not to that extent, but if I had somebody that, well, I've got a lineman that's always scheduled to be off, but next week, Will?
Right, he's on up in April.
In April, sometime in April, to go land between the lakes turkey hunting all week. And that's fine if I let him go. But if I determine before then I need him here because I've got 3 linemen out sick, I'm gonna deny him vacation. Because I need the work staff here.
Right.
And if I let them go on vacation or time off, they say they went home for the week, spring break, and things got bad, we needed help, I'd reserve the right to mandate they come back in and help. That's not the normal way we operate, but these are different times. This may be we all gonna have to sacrifice something new that we're not used to having doing. And then some people are not gonna be happy with it. You know, they're not gonna be happy with me. But I'm gonna do what I think it takes to keep them safe and to keep the doors open and the lights on. That answer your question, Mary?
Yes, I just know that there's a good possibility that someone could come in with that. And I was just wondering if you had gone through it in your mind, if they just want it, if you can handle it, it's just on their lead time.
That's
What
correct.
we're talking about the additional lead is if there is sickness, if they have been exposed.
If they meet those bullet points on that handout I gave you, or their kids are out of school, those things
Right.
will
Okay.
allow them to be either on FMLA or 2 weeks paid sick leave.
So the two
I
hundred
think you
dollars.
have a really good crew, and I don't think you have to deal with that, but I just wanted to pose it so that there would be a little bit of, okay, what if
Yes.
that we thought about.
And
But
we,
I just,
I have thought about it more than y'all know I thought about it, trying to think of the what ifs up here. But we will handle that appropriately.
Now,
Okay.
the $200, you said it will just, so if it's not used, it just goes back to in our account, right? 'Cause
Well-
you said you would transfer it to, explain that.
All right, so the question Christy asked about if we give the 2 weeks, automatically set up a new account, put 2 weeks in there, it would be there if someone used if they are sick or
Of a family member.
the family member, they don't have to take off family members. But according to the federal law, the way I read it, December 31st, anything that's not used goes away. And the reason behind that
I mean,
is
where does it go?
it just goes away. Let me say the reason why. So Kathy gets sick and has to take off 2 weeks sick under this thing here. Well, she'll get 100% pay up to $500 a day, okay? The intent is the federal government's going to reimburse us for that through Social Security taxes or whatever taxes there are, Kathy. You may can address that more. So we'd have to document that and prove it to them that I paid Kathy, up to $500 a day for 2 weeks to get reimbursed. So if we had someone who, and this is my thinking, we only had 2 people use 2 weeks out of everybody, and we still have this on the books. Well, come September, it's time for dove season. Somebody says, I don't feel good. I want them 2 weeks they got. Can't do that because we're breaking federal law. If they're not, even though the 2 weeks is still there,
Yeah.
we can't prove to them they had COVID-19. If they had it, yeah. But if they didn't, so I'm going to ask the board to let Kathy set up a special account for the COVID-19. Anybody that dips into it will have to meet these regulations. Either they're sick or whatever, watching kids. And then if it's not used by the end of the year, it disappears. The government no longer honor it, put it that way. Now, if somebody did come in 6 months from now, say, I got COVID-19 and want to take it, if they prove to have it, yeah, we give it to them. If not, I'd make them use regular time. Now, human nature says, all right, Kathy got her 2 weeks, I want my 2 weeks, even though I'm not sick. So be it. You just may want your 2 weeks, but you're not getting it because you're not
Well, I
sick.
don't think our employees will do that.
I don't think they will either. I would be
think they're gonna
disappointed
do
if they
that.
did.
I mean, people, they're not gonna do that.
Are we talking about setting an actual journal entry up for this or?
How would you do it, Kathy?
Well, I would probably, because I hadn't thought about this, that I would set up a different code for us to have that available. I'm gonna have to keep documentation in order for us to be able to get something back. So it wouldn't be like money being put on our books as this leave to be able to be used. I don't see that happening because it'll be done as we take it. I'll take the documentation and it'll be done like I would kind of like FEMA when we have the storms and
So
stuff.
we're not gonna set aside a restricted account for that sort of money, anything right now, we're just gonna.
Not that I'm aware of. I would
That's what I
have to
didn't understand. Okay.
double check
Yeah.
to make sure we did all the legalities of it correct. But I think I can do it without, and it would just be as needed. And then I would have to document that to see at what point in time do we get that reimbursement too. It may be something that would need to be on our books at June 30th if it was still in play. But it wouldn't be unused time, it would be what's been used, what we've paid for.
Gotcha.
That would be on there.
And so, in asking the board to do that, is that something that y'all have any issue doing? It's a bookkeeping thing. Okay, well then, we'll do that. I don't think we need a motion over that, we just got direction for it. There are a couple of employees that we have, they're new employees or someone that's been on hard times, like, you know, Bill and Harold both went through shoulder surgery last year and they ate up most all of the sick leave. You know, some of these people get 700 hours. But some of them don't have, and if they get sick, really get sick, they may burn through this 2 weeks and more. And they have to, and once they burn through the 2 weeks, unless they can go on the FMLA somehow, but if they can't go on FMLA, they burn through the 2 weeks, they'll have to burn up whatever they have right now on the books. And that might not get them through. So we have a couple employees that really have no time for various reasons. So I've asked the board to also allow us to set up what I call a negative sick time bank or something other. So if it were me and I ran completely out of all my time after I did the federal leave first and then my leave and I'm still on my deathbed, I need another week before I come back, that y'all would advance me a week's worth of sick leave. Once I came back to work, we accrue sick leave a day a month. We'd accrue it and take it off the book. In 5 months, then you'd get it back. Is that something y'all would consider doing for those who might run out of any type of leave?
Yeah, it's okay with me.
That's fine.
All right, Chris.
Mrs. Mary, it's okay with me.
Okay, well, thank you. No one here has a problem with that. Kathy will be figuring out how we can do that. And hopefully don't want to get to that point, but it's possible. And we got a few employees who have had to take a long time because of injuries. Will's sitting around right now, his back hurting from 2014, the ice storm. He may have to have his back operated on, you know, so he may be out 3-4 weeks.
Don't be doing that now.
We're gonna talk about it a little while longer.
Now, one thing we're gonna handle internally, we have a cap of 720 hours on sick leave. What we did today shouldn't affect that, because we're not gonna actually apply the 2 weeks. If Will's got 700 hours, we had 82 it and it's capped, he loses 60. We're not gonna apply his 2 weeks to his 700. It's there to use it first, right? So we shouldn't have to alter our existing time, sick leave policy, capped at 720. Okay. All right, y'all have agreed to that. Hopefully you're writing all this down.
You're not with your friend.
It's too late here, yeah.
Thank you.
Several
Thank
times.
I've licked my fingers and everything. Probably picked my nose before it's over with. I did reach out to the mayor, and I talked to Keith Phelps today. When I sent out the email to y'all Sunday, I sent Keith McCall's email to Keith Phelps. So both of them were confused on why one got part, one didn't. But we've asked them to talk to the Methodist Church about kind of relaxing some of the requirements on the Bread of Life and the Roundup program 'cause we got like $19,000-$20,000 there. Keith said they had done that. They've done that. Now, I don't know if you said it in a meeting or not. He know they did it on the food bank. And if they hadn't, they're gonna do it for the cash. Cause originally when this was set up, they weren't paying anybody. And I sat down and talked to Grace, and she did relax it properly. And what they do is the very best run
That's right.
assistant program. It's not a charity program, it's an assistance program. But so they loosened up, so that'll help. And also Penny's still waiting to hear back from Delta.
I called them again.
If there's any money the federal government's gonna send to Delta to help, like they do, it was $450 a year in the basement. How much they send out on?
Like 500.
500?
500 is a basement.
Yeah.
That's good.
So, we're checking those avenues too to help people pay their bills. What else we got here on that list? That's the things that y'all answer our questions tonight and give us guidelines for what I sent to you on this printout. Before I move to possible changes going in the future, next month or 6 weeks from now or 2 years from now, are there any more comments from anybody about the things we discussed up to this point? If not, let's go to the second to last page of the handout, where I talk about permanent changes that we may want to incorporate. We sat around with the staff, key staff and I and Terry sat around and talked about what could we do to make this awkward situation better. How can we serve our customers better? And this is some things we came up with that the board's going to have to approve of. May not approve any of them tonight, but at some point in time we want to look at these seriously. The first item is many of our neighbors feel I'm talking about our utility neighbors. I see 50 emails a day. A lot of the utilities who were proactive in active shooter case back years ago have got the bulletproof glass, a barrier up, and they're not shutting their offices down at all. They still have all the foot traffic because there's a physical barrier to keep. Now you still got passing dirty money under the window, but the physical barrier allows them to have people still access the office. That's something we may want to look at in the future. There's no way to get it done now, but it solves two issues: personal protection plus isolation for these viruses. So that's something we may want to look at down the road in the next few months. Second point.
This is me.
Yes, go ahead, Mary.
I don't have a problem with the barrier, but you still got the passing and the contact, close contact. I can't see where the openings that you're going to have, because there's going to be somebody that's going to bend over and try to talk to a person on the other side.
That's true. I've seen it done.
What's coming out of their mouth that you don't see is
Yeah.
where the germs are and the contact is made. I don't have a problem if the board wants the barrier, but I think that's giving us all the sense of safety security, because everything is if it was an active shooter, I would agree. But when we're talking about a virus, that's a little bit more to me.
Yeah, and your point's well taken, Mary. I mean, yeah, it will give us a false sense of security. I think it will actually offer some physical protection, but it's not foolproof. Most of these barriers, have vents around the top or the bottom to let air get through so it don't steam up. And there are ways for the germs to get in if they want to. But so we'll remember that point if we take this discussion up in the future. I don't think it's something we need to decide tonight, but just something to think about. And so your point's well taken. Any more comments about the barrier? If not, the second point was our building was originally designed for a second drive-up lane. We never installed the equipment, the overhead blow tube or however it's done. Penny, have you heard back from Debo yet?
I sent an email.
We're waiting for Debo to get back and say this is what it's going to cost to get this done. I would suggest that as soon as we can, we do this regardless, because on our last day to pay, or first of the month, the line out there is backed up pretty good. Had we had 2 drive-ups right now, it would really resolve a lot of the issues we're gonna have for the next 6 weeks. And so I'm gonna bring back to the board as soon as I get some costs to get this done. I think it's just to tell our equipment, Keith, you know how it's done? I mean, you're the president of the bank, you supposed to know how it works.
No.
Okay, but you know, it's like you see, like in South, there'll be a tube and so forth, so I'm gonna bring that back to the board as soon as I get some data on that, and I'm gonna ask that we consider doing that as soon as possible. Any comments about the second drive-up lane? Okay, the next item on there was, on that second drive-up lane too, we may can utilize the kiosk out there. What I'm hearing from our utilities that are using kiosks either for prepay or whatever, their foot traffic is gone away. And you can't see it, but Kathy's nodding her head up and down. I think the Southwest has very, very little face-to-face contact with the customer now for bill payments because they have this kiosk. I've used ATM. I guess it works the same. But
Tim, when Paris called today, they have shut their office completely down. It's not open at all. And they have 3 or 4 kiosks they utilize around the system, and they're not deposit and credit card payments online or by phone. They're not even open in an office right now.
How many customers do they have?
Oh, Lord.
they're bigger than we are.
Yeah, 40,000.
Oh.
Yeah, it's all of Henry County. They serve the city and all of Henry County. And if y'all, Mary C, could y'all hear what Will was saying?
Yeah, he said that they were shut down, they weren't using anything at all.
Right, and they don't have any drive-through at all. They never have. They don't now. And so they went to AMI 3 or 4 years ago, and they all put these kiosks in, and that's the reason that they shut their office
And
down.
water and all utilities.
Multi-service.
So that's something when we talk about the drive-through, we may talk about kiosk. I have no idea what it costs to put a kiosk in, but this is something I'm going to find out and report back to the board so we can make informed decisions going forward. And again, all of what we're talking about is because this COVID 19 situation. It may come back with a vengeance next year. Who knows? If they don't have an antibiotic or a serum for it, we may see us repeat.
Don't have one like this.
Yeah, we hope and pray they'll have one. There may be another flu bug comes out 5 years from now. So we weren't as prepared to handle this emergency as other utilities are. Not saying they would have more foresight than we did. They're just in a fortunate position to have the tools at hand that they normally use. All right, the next item 3, is we talk about point of service credit card machine. At the present time, we use a third-party vendor to handle all credit card payments. We only have one machine in the office. It's at the front counter. We do not touch the credit card. The customer does for various reasons, and it works like a charm. They can't do it at the drive-thru because there's not a machine there. Heretofore, we made them come into the office if they want to use a credit card to use the machine. So a couple things to remember that at a drive-thru, we're handing out information to customers to remind them they can pay online, they can pay by telephone number, they can pay by check and the night drop, they can pay on bank draft, a lot of ways to pay without coming in the office. But with our credit card machine right now, I received a proposal from CSA last year. They rolled out a new credit card processing service that they bill for. It puts everything under one roof. No third-party providers is used. Their credit card fees are much less than the third party now. Let's see, we're paying 3.25% now, and they're going to 2.5%. So that their fees to our customers are much cheaper. I didn't pursue this because it costs about $8,000 to set the stuff up, the software and hardware. And then it's gonna cost $700 to $900 a month for ongoing fees. And so I have not brought this to board. I didn't think we needed, mainly because of the ongoing monthly fee. We pay CSA, what, $6,000 to $7,000 a month? More than that?
Well, we pay them one for the billing and then one for everything else.
You know, we're paying them a lot of money now. We're getting the bang for our buck. You agree, Kathy? Penny? And Will uses the map and stuff. Everything that we pay them for now works great and it's worth the money we spend. This may be something we'll consider also. It does something good for our ratepayers. It reduces their fees. Plus, how many days a month do y'all spend trying to reconcile the third party?
It can be lots of days.
Yeah.
Because they come in all at different times and from different places, and there's no way to, one company may do a 3-day delay, one may do a 2-day delay, and then you get all the money together and you don't know where it comes from.
So if I came in and paid my credit card today, it may not hit our books for 3 or 4 days. And every day they're trying to reconcile and balance what's there. And so this makes it instantaneous. It posts instantaneous. We'll talk about this some more later. But this helps out a lot of things. The last thing, item number 4 I had on the agenda discussion was talking about our website. Our website is very archaic. It was built by Billy Fleming's wife in 2002 when we moved in. It's proprietary software. Terry, who is very, very capable of this, has to keep tricking our computer every time we go to a new version of Windows, whatever, and making the old stuff work. It's not user friendly for our users, nor is it friendly for us to maintain. And so, and I think the mayor has actually said something about it before.
Yeah, we needed it.
When you look at the city's website or other utilities versus ours. And so I've asked Terry to talk to TCPC and somebody else who could host these things, see what the cost will be. We need to really revamp our, regardless of what we're doing with COVID-19, we need to revamp that and get in the 21st century. Also, if we have to start posting this stuff on the internet, it's not a matter of going to a document and copy and paste into our website. It doesn't work that way. I don't know if any of y'all have used a screenwriter or a Novell word processing way back in the 80s and 90s. That was the thing to use, and that's what we're operating on.
We've been trying to get you for years to redo our website.
Well, we're going.
We've talked about this 1,000 times, Tim.
All right.
So don't blame it on you. We've been telling you for a long time.
I'm not blaming on anybody. See, I'm going to start pushing it now. So
That's what, did we tell you? Everybody's calling us because there's not a website. When
Oh, it's
the
there.
lights go out or something.
it's there.
Well,
Lights going out
no, it's not,
sometimes.
Tim. It's not a website.
It's informational. It's not interactive.
But we should update that.
Well, I'll come back to y'all with some numbers over that. One thing that the state assembly is trying to pass, I don't think they'll do it this year because they've had a truncated session. They're trying to pass a law that says everything that we do in this boardroom, every document you receive, every document I send to you, every email you have, all that ends up on our website for public record. If that law passes, we'll have to change our website so we can incorporate that. So anyway, I just throw that out for information. All right, I've talked a lot about a lot of things. I think we've got the guidance we need from the board tonight for the immediate time. I would ask, are there any comments? Barry, do you have any comments at all about anything we talked about, or anything to add to it?
No, I think I don't have anything else. It's a little overwhelming at the moment.
Yes, it is, very much so.
Life, our day-to-day is not, it's a different day-to-day, but I don't have any comments. I think I gave my comments as I was going along.
Okay. CH, any comments?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Chris, Jim, Keith, any comments?
No?
Only thing I say with employees, employees, you get the trickle effect. If you start letting one off, you need to make it known. If someone's offered this or whatever, and the other person gets scared, all because they're a child, you know, we're gonna be paying for these days. You just gotta watch the trickle effect.
Well, and that's human nature, and if the kids are off because they can't go to school, by law, we have to let them off. There's no fussing.
And do all your employees know that now?
No. But I've got to talk to them.
That's what that's
I'll do that tomorrow.
That's right.
I wanted this guidance tonight before we met tomorrow.
Right.
And I don't, and you know, I've talked to the employees here and there the last few weeks as we see this to let them know these things are coming. But the law don't go into effect legally till April 2nd.
You know how that works with employees. You
Right.
let him know. You let her off. I want to get off like that too.
And that's human nature, right? How we guard against that? I mean, if they're not sick, we don't have to let them off.
That's what it is. Let that be known.
Well, I will. I will. And I don't think we'd have anybody abuse that.
It's just being sure.
All right, the last thing that I want to say is I may need y'all's input more than once a month. And David's going to address that, just being how we make him do that. Back when we sold the cable company, two of y'all on the board, right? We never recessed a meeting. We're going to meet next Monday, that regularly scheduled. If we had nothing to discuss, Kathy called and say, there's nothing here, so there's no, the minutes would say no quorum, nothing to discuss. But we had a standing meeting. The reason we did it back then, David, correct me if I'm wrong, it kept us from having to put a notice in the paper every week.
Right.
David, would you address that?
Yeah, I think what Tim and I talked about is if we'll just consider passing a motion tonight to meet every Monday night at 5 o'clock during the state of emergency. And then that will be a special call meeting, but if we don't meet, we'll just have Kathy come in here and say there was no quorum and make a note for the minutes and go forward at this point. And I think Tim can probably let everybody know that plans on calling in whether or not we're going to have that meeting or not. But let's just go ahead and schedule a meeting every Monday night at 5 o'clock for at least the next month or two, so we can figure out where we are on this. Don't know that we'll have to do something else, but we've got it available if we need it.
Right. David, is it possible to have, we can schedule every Monday night, but what if federal law changed something Tuesday afternoon that we got to do and I've got to get guidance?
And I did some research today, and I've done this research before. And what the law says is that we have to give adequate public notice of any special meeting, and there is no definition of adequate public notice. It's just what you can do under the circumstances. So I think what we would do under those circumstances is put notices out here on the front door, send an email to City Hall to ask them to put a notice on the front door, maybe put a notice on the front door of the courthouse, and then maybe ask the city to put it on their website. Just what is reasonable, what, you know, do the best you can is about what they're requiring you to do. And in the general, that's every time you have to call a special meeting. And there's some cases on special meetings. But even the comptroller's office said, due to the uncertainty of these times, as long as you're making a good faith best effort to do what you can, that they don't anticipate any problems. Right. So, but I just think, you know, post it 3 or 4 places that are logical places that somebody would be interested in our meetings would go. The only other thing is, and I don't know if this is possible, and I haven't talked to Tim about this, I made a note while we've been talking tonight, is that on our next bills that go out, we could put what is going to be our scheduled meetings. If that's possible, I don't know if you can add that to those bills or not.
We would have to add it like as a backer on the back of the bill. And that does cost to add, you know, words on the back.
It's limited what we can do, but let me bring this point up. The law says 9 people. We got 9 people here. So if 15 people will come sit in a meeting, what are we going to do with them? They'd all have to sit out there, 9 of them sit out there. open doors at 9, sit up yonder outside. I don't know how this works, it's, we're required not to have more than 9, does that make
10
sense?
or 10 people in it.
Yeah, you know, and the answer is, and I don't know what we'll do if that happens either, but I think the main thing right now is you give what notice you can, and then if you get to that point, we'll just have to try to figure out how to deal with it, even if it means I'll go sit in the truck and listen on the phone or whatever else, you know. The other part about it is, you know, I think we've done exactly what we're supposed to do. 30 days from now, you know, or 60 days from now, if we're still meeting in the same manner, by that point, you know, it's probably reasonable that we have a different plan on how to meet, as far as whether it be broadcast on YouTube or whatever else. I mean, there was no way to do it for tonight, but, you know, can you get that done in 30 or 60 days is something that the board probably needs to look at exploring, you know, how they could provide the ability for people to see
Better
what
access.
we're doing, better access, correct.
All right, so to answer that, Penny, CH, you want to say something? To answer David's comment, I'll get back to you, CH. Penny and I talked today about a way to get it on the computer or on the telephone, because right now, if we open it up like GoToMeeting or Zoom and let people call in and ask questions, we couldn't have a meeting. I mean, it's cumbersome enough with just 2 out trying to ask questions. So we couldn't allow people to dial in, 300 people or 15 people, and have vocal control over a telephone. So we'd have to figure out some way to make that work. And Penny's, and when Terry gets back in, we're gonna look at that. We need some way so that y'all could dial in, like GoToMeeting or Zoom, but I would not want to make that dial-in access available to the public, because they'd inundate our phone lines. So, and CH, you were trying to say something, I apologize, I cut you off.
No, I wasn't trying to say anything.
Okay. Neil, do you have a comment?
No, I was gonna bring up, I've used Zoom recently. I didn't know y'all had talked about it, but I was thinking that just for the board.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point David brought up, and I didn't talk to y'all specifically about that, but we're trying to find a better way of doing here what we're doing tonight next time. So that if you want to stay home, I mean, we can always do like Penny did, call you one at a time, that works. But I don't think we could open it up to the public to call in, because we couldn't conduct business.
No, I agree.
That'd be a good idea.
No.
Yes.
I'll let you know how it goes tomorrow night. We've got, our meeting set up with an online platform. We're gonna have video. And if it works well, I can get Nick, I asked him if anything had been said to y'all about us using it there as well. But, Nick Shaw, the IT director for the city, doesn't mind helping everybody get that set up. So if we're gonna be meeting like this, and it gets to where we are meeting, everyone virtual, I'll know a lot more about how we're gonna do it tomorrow night. But
Okay.
I think it's GoToMeeting, is the site we're using, but it looks pretty promising. Everybody just has to remember to mute when they're not talking and be respectful, but I think it'll work well.
Well, we go to meeting, we can force everybody on mute only, or we can allow people to talk freely, or they can raise their hand and we can
You can,
unmute them individually. And that'll work for the 9 of us, but not for the 30. CH, what are y'all gonna do if a bunch of people show up in your meeting? You want them to come in the chambers?
I don't know, I'm not gonna be there. It's a good question. They have, asked, you know, unless you just 100% feel that you need to be there, they've asked that the public refrain from coming, because all of our meetings are out on video, usually the next day.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're asking as long as you don't have anything to bring up at the meeting, to stay home. So I'm thinking if it's more than 10 people in that room, they're gonna turn them away.
They'd have to.
Would be my guess in my head.
Yeah. All right, I have spoken and spoken and spoken. Does anyone else have anything to add to our conversation tonight?
Now, we're gonna,
Oh, you gotta do a motion to do that.
yeah, we're gonna have the meetings.
Every Monday night at 5 o'clock.
Someone give me a motion to that. effect.
Somebody,
Got a motion by Christie and a second by Jim.
Roll call.
Roll call, that's
Aye.
right. Christie, aye. Jim,
Aye.
aye. Keith, aye. Mary, aye. CH?
All right.
Okay.
So we got that set up, and if nothing comes up, we'll make sure we reach out to y'all so you don't worry about it. And again, we can do it like we do tonight, come to the office, do a teleconference. Maybe we have something better the next week or two. It gets back to technology. We need to do some hammering on our technology. This just brought it to light, this emergency. But there's some things we can do.
A lot of people.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, that's all that I have to discuss tonight.
Has anybody else got anything to come forward for? Entertain a motion to adjourn. And we'll call a roll. Christie?
aye.
Keith, aye.
Motion to adjourn. Aye, Mary.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.